I'm Mike Potenza, the high performance director for the San Jose Sharks. I'm in my 18th year with the San Jose Sharks. 2022 to 2024, I was with the Golden State Warriors working in the NBA. I came back for this high performance director role. Prior to being in the NHL, I was at the collegiate level with the University of Wisconsin working with hockey and multiple sports there. I found Shiftwave about a year ago, and we were looking for a tool that would help downregulate our players after games. Everybody knows, professional sports play late at night, and you're amping up at the point of the day where you should be down regulating and getting sleep. So your circadian rhythm is totally disrupted, and you're caffeinated and you're on stimulants, obviously, to be ready for the game. We found that Shiftwave, through its meditative function, through its breathing and breath play function, allowed our players to find that back door into the nervous system to get them from being highly sympathetic to become parasympathetic and find a more restful sleep. We gained hours post game in terms of our sleep hours, which some guys have reported. I would get to bed usually after a game at 3 in the morning, but I can get to bed an hour or two earlier because I'm more down regulated, which is awesome because it will mount up throughout the year for obviously more sleep hours. But the turnaround time the next day, generally after games in the NHL and the NBA, is that you have a practice the next day. So that window of post game sleep to I have to wake up and have practice is pretty close. But now we've been able to extend that and get a more regenerative effect to our sleep for the players post game. It traveled really well for us. The piece of luggage and bag it came in was protective of the equipment. We had no problem. It became such an important tool for our guys that we let guys take it home when we have home games or on a homestand. But on the road, it was that important that we packed it up and we traveled with it wherever we needed to go. We generally have a treatment suite or treatment area in the hotel. It could be either in a room or it was in a ballroom, and we set it up there, and guys would go as they felt necessary. It's been an amazing tool for us. It's definitely improved our recovery program and what we're looking for. Without the shift wave, like if you're just coming home and they usually generally home by 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, like they won't get to bed till 2, 3 in the morning. That's without we have a sleep formula that we give guys, vitamins, nutrients, botanicals, kind of nutraceuticals, not melatonin, but that doesn't put them to sleep. That just kind of gets them into the deeper levels of sleep rather than it being shallow and not restorative. But now we can get into deeper levels of sleep within that 5-hour window that they're only getting. So that helps. So now if you take shift wave and then you combine it with our sleep formula, like it's exponentially going to improve post-game sleep cycle. So they would have like a 5.5-hour window after a game, and then they got to come to practice the next day. So, and then what's unique is that when you're on the road, you have a later practice time because you're the visiting team. So they gain an extra 2 hours. So if in bed on the road at 3 o'clock, I don't have to get up until 10:30. Then that's a more realistic timeline for sleep. So it's helped. So knowing that and seeing subjective sleep scores improve on the road, because we give them a questionnaire. At home, we encourage the coaching staff, let's not practice at 10:30, let's practice at 12. So guys can get an extra hour and a half and not feel like they have to rush to the rink. So we've taken those steps to adjust. We don't have a true team monitoring system. If guys are using Whoop, we'll ask them about, sleep numbers, HRV, resting heart rate, sleep hours. But the questionnaire goes over sleep hours, sleep quality, and kind of mood, just to see how that ebbs and flows. With questions related to mood and fatigue levels can then give you a little bit of an insight to hormonal levels, cortisol, high, remaining high when it should be coming down, but that can be affected without enough sleep, and disrupted circadian rhythms. We had guys use it after morning skate before their nap for those brief periods. It was great. Saw some good effectiveness there. Again, I think we're just scratching the surface with this thing, but a lot of use for it on the road, in the city day before the game. And then when we traveled and got to the next city, I would either bring it to the player's room, or I would set it up in that treatment suite, for the guys. So, but it was always kind of moving around, but that's okay. Like we may have to bring two. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Like we want to improve the quality of the sleep. We want to, and that's like where we're starting. And again, like the way forward approaching going into next season is, okay, do we have some objective data from what they're wearing as a wearable to say, yeah, this is really making an impact. So the sleep scores and the sleep time, and then, okay, HRV and resting heart rate, longitudinally, yeah, we're seeing impacts on that. Subjectivity is high on each player, so that's important too, not just the data, not just the objective results. But the other thing that we want to explore is like what shift to sympathetic tone and game prep can we get out of the unit? I know there's some improvements in cognitive function that you can go through some different programs for, like pre-game routines or pre-practice. We'd like to explore those too. I think that can be an effectiveness to that. Couple staff, yeah, and then again, the coaching staff it's a demanding job for everybody with the hours and how long you're in front of a computer and how long you're working and things like that. So from a holistic health standpoint for the entire staff, we're going to definitely expose everybody and let them know it's available to them as well. I think in those lines, it's related to how good of a sleep they had the next day, and if it's we get into a city late, they don't, and we have a practice the next day, and they don't get enough sleep. They come in, they don't say much, and they're dragging, and you can see the body language is poor and whatnot. And that after they get a better sleep, and particularly when the guys uses a Shiftwave, and help their sleep, you could tell they want to tell you. You're like, oh, I slept great last night, like, and that's a big thing from each guy. You'll know. I've heard it over the years as well. Like if we're in a good city with a good hotel and good beds, like guys will be like, "Oh man, I slept great. I love this hotel. The beds are great." But now with this tool, I've heard guys like, "Yeah, I slept great." Which is it's important. I think a key point of the unit and of Shiftwave is that everyone wants to maximize sleep, and there's so many different strategies to do it. There's a nutritional strategy, there is a sleep hygiene strategy, there is a comfort and environment strategy. I think it appreciates the Shiftwave appreciates the pathway to parasympathetic tone and the parasympathetic nervous system through the meditative state, the breathing side of the routines that you go through, and obviously the flushing of the pulsating units within the chair. I think that combined together gets you in an optimized position for sleep, and that's why we're seeing some of these benefits. And it really moved the needle more so than any of the other factors that we've presented to the player, whether it be the nutritional strategy or enhancing a sleep environment to darkening or cooling the room. The breath work has been a huge part of it, and the meditation has been a huge part of it with the unit for our players.